Test, test, test. Right, so I've been working on creating my own auto rigging tool in Maya to speed up the process of doing commissions because it can take a really long time to create a rig from scratch. There are other auto rigging tools available already, but when it comes to working with someone else's code, it can be quite awkward to make changes or add additional functionality to an existing tool when you're not really sure of the specifics of how everything was set up by that person. So I click my little auto rig button up here and that loads up the auto rig menu, and then from there you can decide how many spines, how many fingers and what types of controls you would like in the rig. The first thing you do is you organize the locators to match your character's proportions, and then you mirror them across, and the auto rigger will create the joints at the locations of each of the locators. Here I am just messing around with the locators because it's actually quite fun to play around with. This is just an example of the spines and fingers at their max amount. I've capped it at 10, but I doubt I would ever need to go this high unless I'm rigging something crazy. You can also see that the locators are organized in hierarchy and under their respective groups, and the joints follow along a similar structure when they were created, everything parented appropriately, etc. I'm just going to mess up the orientation real quickly as well, just to show that the set orientation button actually works. Currently when the joints are created, they are automatically set to the preferred orientations I want, but as you can see when I click set orientation, it will set the orientations to the preferred axes for animation. I would like a slide down menu of sorts here as well, just to have the option to be able to choose orientations from the menu itself. The secondary locators menu is for adding additional functionality such as twist arm joints between the elbow and the wrist to be able to rotate the wrist independently of the elbow, the same way a human skeleton works, as well as to which degree each joint in the chain rotates relative to the wrist. So another function of the secondary locators menu is to add in these volume locators. These will help tremendously with the skinning process later on, as it gives us so many more joints to spread out our skin weights onto, as well as to use them to create breathing controls for the character. And we also have a button for adding in the additional foot joints that will enable us to create the different foot control optimizations you typically see featured in rigs, such as your foot roll, toe wiggle, or lean, etc., things like that, which will get shown off properly closer to the end of the video once I've hit the finalize rig button, which runs functions from other scripts to attach the various controllers, constraints and IK handles to the rig's respective parts. Right, so let's say we have our character laid out the way we want. It's the locators are overlaid on top of them. We add in our extra volume locators, our locators to create our foot roll, and our locators for the arm twist. We set the orientation, we make the joints, and then after that we click the finalize rig button. This creates all the NURBS shapes for the controllers and attaches them to the joints. It creates the IKs for the arms and legs, it creates the IK spline for the spine, and constrains the joints to their easier to click animation controllers, as well as creating and connecting attributes such as our foot roll attribute, which can then be accessed through our controller's channel boxes. But yeah, everything is still relatively basic for the moment, but the foundations are there and I can add as much as I feel necessary to the auto rigger, while then also still being able to add in more complicated character specific rig stuff as I go. I'm actually going to play this clip again because I thought this was really cool, but you can actually use Python scripts to set up things in the node editor as well. This means I can do things like link the wrist control rotation values to the arm twist joint rotations, and then by creating multiply divide nodes I can have each of those twist arm joints rotate at different percentages of the original wrist control rotation value, which then in turn simply mimics how a human forearm would rotate. So now if I go back to this clip, you can maybe see that the twist arm joints rotate less and less as we get further from the wrist itself. And then this part is just to show the auto-rigger also connecting existing attributes such as the IK handles built-in twist controls and then attaching them to our controller's custom attributes that the auto-rigger creates alongside the controllers themselves. I also implemented a knee fix just so that when the auto-rigger is creating everything that I can ensure that the knee is pointing in the right direction by default. As for the knee twist attribute, it's simply connected to the standard twist controls that come as part of the pole vector based IK handles when they're created. Here we can finally see the results of adding in the secondary locators for the foot controls, which creates the extra joints in the feet and then links the rotation values of those joints to our foot roll and ball roll attributes located on the foot controls. As I said before, this is just me trying to keep everything very basic for the moment while I've been learning how to do everything. I have more advanced stuff that was created manually that I will be upgrading the auto-rigger to create for me, but for the moment this is all fine for the purposes of this video at least. The next thing I'm going to do is learn how to automate the skinning process via Python and add that functionality into the auto-rigger as well. Before I do that, actually, I will have to add in a facial rigging component to the auto-rigger, and then last but not least, I'm going to make the menus all nice and fancy. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you got this far through the video, then fair play to you, honestly. I did not plan for the video to go on as long as it did. And believe it or not, I did have to cut a lot of quote unquote unnecessary bits out. But either way, thanks very much for watching. I'll throw up some progress reports as I go through it, and have yourself a nice day.